Good afternoon. My name is Jacob Sheridan, and I'm the CEO of TPA Stream. Thanks so much for joining us today, taking a detailed look at a detailed invoice with Rocky Mountain Reserve. We are so fortunate for Brad Ornick to join us this afternoon. Brad, thanks so much for jumping on.
Thank you very much. I'm happy to be here today and happy to have this conversation with you.
Awesome. So Brad, let's just start out for folks listening in. Let's talk a little bit about Rocky Mountain Reserve. Why don't you give us a little background as to your role, the business, and what types of products and services you guys provide?
Yeah, sure. I'm the CFO here at Rocky Mountain Reserve. Rocky Mountain Reserve was founded in 2009, and I was a member of the team at the founding. And so I've been with the company for the 14 years that we've been around. And Rocky Mountain Reserve is a TPA, largely in the CDH space, providing administration services for CDH plans like FSAs, HSAs, HRAs, and also providing administration for dependent care, cafeteria plans, transportation account plans, education plans, wellness, as well as recently entering the lifestyle plan space. We also administer COBRA healthcare continuation plans for our employer groups, and so we're heavily involved in really benefits, employer-sponsored benefits administration.
Fantastic. Well, thank you, Brad. So let's talk a little bit about the market, right? So we are very, very focused on working with benefit TPAs like yourself that provide HRAs, HSAs, FSAs, essentially Section 105, Section 125 plans, along with COBRA administration. And you mentioned something during your introduction, lifestyle accounts. This is something that we're hearing from a lot of our customers. It's one of the ways that they're growing. Can you share with us a little bit about lifestyle accounts, how they work, how you guys provide them, and the growth that you're seeing?
Sure. Yeah. Lifestyle accounts are a relatively new creation. There's really no tax code associated with them. It's not a pre-tax benefit. What a lifestyle account is a reimbursement account that an employer will provide to their employees. And the employer can really define how they want those funds to be used. And so it's a way to deliver additional benefits on a taxable basis to employees, for employees that engage in particular activities or particular things that the employer wants to promote, such as gym memberships or other types of activities or benefits that they want to provide.
Okay. And one of the things that we've also been seeing in the industry is just, and you alluded to this in your introduction, just the number of products now, right? 10 years ago, 15 years ago, you had your FSA, you had an HSA, which was a newer product. But over the past 10 years or so, I mean, how many more products do you think that you now offer in the market since potentially joined the company?
Well, I was in this space prior to joining and founding Rocky Mountain Reserve, and when I started in the space, there was flexible spending accounts. That was kind of it, mm-hmm. And you had your health flexible spending account and your dependent care flexible spending account, and that was the product offering. And yeah, as I mentioned earlier, there's potentially dozens of different products that you can offer now in this TPA space, in the benefit space for employers. And I think that's just going to continue to grow as employers recognize the power of these reimbursement style of accounts to help promote general wellness and welfare, health and well-being amongst their employees, and to provide benefits that will help employer groups stand out as they're trying to attract and retain talent. And so, there's a number of those now. We have probably 6 or 7 additional benefit types that we're administering now. And that's going to keep growing as employers find ways, and as TPAs and brokers find ways to deliver additional value and benefit to their employees to, again, help retain and attract the talent that they want on their teams.
Right. I mean, it aligns to what we're seeing in the industry as well, right? I mean, with major medical insurance continuing to go up and up and up, and the deductible is going up and up and up, it's creating another market for other products and services, right, that are secondary, tertiary, that have a debit card. And so it's something that we're seeing across the industry, which is kind of one of the reasons why we entered into this crazy invoicing space. And one of the, the topic of our discussion today, which is invoicing and billing. And, when you had the FSA, your medical FSA, your dependent care FSA, the invoicing process was a little bit more simple. It still was challenging at the time, but when you add all these additional products and then divisions and bundles and letting brokers get more creative, it just creates a more challenging administrative environment. And so I would love to hear about, the billing process that you guys have implemented before working with TPA Stream, because that is something we'll be talking about. But just curious to hear, what was the process like before working with TPA Stream? How would you manage the invoicing process for all the products and services now that are being offered in a way where the employers are happy, you keep the broker happy, and you're not sending out 10 invoices when 10 products are purchased?
Yeah, so the invoicing, it's been, when we started out 14 years ago, it was, as you mentioned, a fairly straightforward, simple process. And so, we built our process that was efficient and effective for the time. But as additional products have been rolled out, that we certainly want to be in those spaces and provide to the groups that we're administering plans for, it created additional complexity. And our process and our procedures were scalable to a point, but we surpassed that point several years ago, and it became really a burdensome task that we had to engage in each month. Obviously, it's something that we have to do because we certainly like the revenue. If we don't bill, we don't get paid. So it's something we want to do, but it became a burdensome part of our team's monthly responsibilities. And in fact, our process extended beyond our team to our account management team, who were specifically working with our clients and to providing great service to the clients and answering questions and working with them to make sure that the benefits were provided and administered efficiently, effectively, in a way that was a value add to our clients. And so taking them away from those things to help us with the billing process, it was just kind of burdensome for them. And so how our process worked is the account managers would compile the participant counts for the plans that they were responsible for in both the CDH space and the other benefits that we offered in the COBRA space. And they just populate that information on a spreadsheet for us. I mean, I'm a CFO. I absolutely love Excel. And so they were dumping this data into Excel, and we could then manipulate some of that data in certain ways that we needed to. But that was a very manually time-intensive process getting that data in that shared spreadsheet. After that, then we would, on our finance and accounting team, we would have to take that data, do some verifications, and then import or input that data into our accounting system so we could then generate the invoices. And then there was the process of emailing those invoices out. Several of our clients required detailed billing reports or detailed invoices that we'd have to manually generate and then attach those as we're emailing those out. And so we had, probably 100 to 200 manually issued invoices that had to have these detailed billing reports associated with them so that the clients could get their information. So, all in all, it was a very, very manual, time-intensive process. We had probably 12 employees involved in this process, and it was taking 30 to 35 man hours a month just to get our invoices issued. And we would start on the 1st of the month and finally issued those on about the 10th of the month. So it was about a 10-day, 30 man hour process, and very, very labor intensive. And anytime you have people involved in the process, you're going to get errors no matter how careful they are. And so it was, I wouldn't say, error prone would probably be overstating it a bit, but errors were made that we would then have to correct on the back end, and that intensified how manual the process was, because we would have issues on the back end after the invoices had gone out, contact with our clients to correct things and to update things and to reissue those invoices when needed, and to respond to questions and issues about open invoices and things like that.
So one of the things you mentioned, I've just been taking out a couple of notes, is that your team spent 35 to 40 hours sending out the invoices, right, on that whole invoice generation piece. Just curious if you have any stats or any guesstimates on how much time your team spent after the invoices were sent out. Because, a big part of the process is getting the invoices out, figuring out the calculations. But then, as you alluded to, getting requests for detailed invoices. That's a time-consuming process. When there is an error, having to add a credit, right? Trying to do whatever it takes to keep the customers happy, to keep your broker relationships, kind of in a good spot, right? You want to take care of all your brokers, take care of all your employers. And so we just hear about this kind of secondary process after you get all the invoices out. And just curious, was a lot of time being spent there? Any estimate on potentially how many hours the team spent, after all the invoices were sent out?
So I don't have hard numbers, but it would easily be 10 to 20 hours after the invoices had been sent out, because just handling the calls related to the invoices that had gone out. We didn't have a portal or anything that employers could log into to look at their account and invoices, historical invoices. And so we had a lot of requests for that. If emails had been missed and they didn't get their invoice, we'd have to reissue the invoices. And then that wraps into our monthly process of generating statements and reaching out to clients on past due invoices and things that hadn't been processed. And so easily a 10 to 20 man hour total after the invoices had been issued, prior to that next point that we're going to issue those invoices at the beginning of the next month. And so, we're looking at, 40 to 50 hours a month just focused on the invoicing and billing process from start to finish.
Got it. No, that's helpful. And, when we talk with our clients, when we talk with other TPAs that aren't using our technology, we often spend a lot of time talking about invoice creation, but we're starting to spend more time talking about, well, what happens after that, right? So you get all the invoices out, but if they're not perfect, what does your team do, right? And who's intercepting those phone calls and those customer service emails? And what we find is that not only, as you alluded to, a little bit of time is spent after invoices are sent out, but then trying to get the information can be really, really challenging, and figuring out who you actually have to go to for this client. And so those are, kind of challenges that, we hear from other TPAs as well. And then another piece that, some organizations deal with more than others is divisional billing, right? Which is, okay, so, as a TPA, not only do we work with small businesses, but some larger ones as well. And the larger businesses sometimes have additional requirements, right? They might be set up as businesses in different states. They might have a nonprofit and a for-profit arm. And just curious if you guys run into divisional billing and if that ever has been a challenge historically for your team.
Yeah, absolutely. We deal with several clients that ask us to bill divisionally, and that can be, divisional line items on one invoice. That can be invoices being sent to different divisions at different locations. And it can be a combination of those two depending on the benefit type. And so it can get pretty complex. And, you mentioned larger employers having the additional demands. It's actually, there's an internal joke in our office. We've got some clients that have, 5 participants, but they have 5 divisions also. And each participant's in a different division that they want special billing for. And that's, we certainly try to accommodate our clients' needs, and we want to do that. But
well, so let's talk to that, Brad. So, historically, right, your team would have a client, 5 employees, let's say 5 divisions, and you get some, an email from an accounting manager, and you're like, oh my God, you guys want 5 invoices for these 5 people? And you probably did deal with it in the past, right? And you do whatever it takes to take care of your broker partners and your employers. But with TPA Stream, so let's transition, right? We spent a little bit of time talking about what your life was like before implementing TPA Stream's employer invoicing product, but would love to talk about what does invoicing look like now? And when you do get those customized, those custom requests, unique things that one employer is asking for that others aren't asking for, is that something that, your team maybe reacts a little bit differently because of the technology that you guys are using?
Yeah, absolutely. And when we used to get that request for a 5-employee group asking for 5 different invoices, that's exactly what our response was, is, oh, you got to be kidding me. And because the process was a little more complex, it was more involved, it was more manual. It's
like, can I increase your fee by 5x? It's like, no, you can't, right?
Absolutely. And, today that process is much different. It's a much more streamlined process. And so when that request comes in, we might roll our eyes because it's a little ridiculous for a 5-employee group to have 5 divisions. But you know what? It's their company. They can do what they want. And we want to be supportive of that. And we want to be supportive in providing the information that they need in the way that they need that. And so we feel like we have the tools now that it really simplifies that process. There's really just the setup on the front end, and then the process is largely runs itself. And so we don't have to be manually involved. We don't have to be taking all those man hours and all of those additional employees to be involved in the process because of the simple nature of the process now.
So let's just spend a minute, if you don't mind, Brad. Can we just talk through the process with TPA Stream and how we're interacting with your different systems at a very high level, if you don't mind, just spending a couple minutes talking through that?
Yeah, absolutely. So we have TPA Stream is tied into 3 different systems on our end: our CDH administration software, our COBRA administration software, and our accounting software. And so throughout the month, TPA Stream is extracting the data from each of those systems to provide the company demographic information, including a contact list and an email distribution list for those invoices, if you will, participation rates, and things like that from each of our COBRA and CDH administration systems, and merging and compiling all of that information within the TPA Stream environment, so that once it comes time to invoice, really the process is clicking a button and it generates the invoices based on the information that's already in the system. And then we internally, we have a review process that we'll go through once those invoices are generated, but it's very, very brief. It's spot checking certain invoices for certain things. And then the process really is just, we sync with our accounting system one more time to update any credits that may have been posted against, that were available to post against those open invoices. And then it's just clicking another button and issuing those invoices out. And so we've gone from a 30 to 35 hour process to prepare and generate those invoices and send them out to a process that's 2 to 3 hours. And instead of 12 people, it's 2 people. And so it has really streamlined that process. And the functionality within the TPA Stream environment allows us to really customize the delivery of those invoices in a format and a way that our customers are looking for, in the many varied ways, I should say, that our customers are looking for, whether it's one division, no divisions, or in some cases we have a client that's got about 50 plus divisions that we're invoicing for, and it's a pretty simple way to accommodate that client now. We don't have to pull our hair out trying to get that set up and tracked. We create the structure of the invoice, pull the data in from our systems, and then we just send the invoice out.
And then one other piece of this, let's talk about notcha files for a second. We developed some additional functionality a few years ago after learning about the payment process. So we learned that a lot of employers, across the country that work with our customers are paying via credit card or ACH. And many of them are open to paying via ACH, but might have not been asked before. And how clients before using an automated solution would leverage credit card payments, would leverage ACH or direct bank transfers. However, would love to hear about how you guys approach payments, and if you're driving all your customers to leverage ACH, direct payments from bank accounts, and this concept of the notcha file, and just how that's worked out for you guys.
Yeah, and that's actually something that we were doing prior to implementing our TPA Stream solution. But again, it was a manual process. We're extracting data out of our accounting system, preparing bank files and uploading those files, and then importing data back into our accounting system. And so it was a streamlined process. It was certainly our preferred method of payment. But with the TPA Stream methodology and system and environment that we're working within, it's able to be much easier for us even at that. And so we actually drive that our customers, our clients, to the automated payment structure, because it's so much easier for us and it's so much easier for them. The process now is just generating the notcha file, uploading that to our bank, and then making sure the data is imported into our accounting system, and we're done. And so it's a very streamlined and very easy process for our collections.
That's great. So, all right. So we talked about a bunch of automation. We talked about kind of what you were doing before, what you're doing now. We've touched on the team a little bit. I just want to spend a little bit more time talking about the team, because your teammates, your colleagues, they're why you guys are in business. They're serving your clients every single day. Would love to hear how they've started using the tool, their feedback, and if it's enabled them to maybe do a little bit more than they were able to do before.
Yeah, absolutely. There's really two aspects to that. One, on my finance and accounting team, it's freed up a tremendous amount of time to focus on other more value added actions and opportunities that they're engaged in. And so it's really been beneficial in that way. For our account managers who are really no longer involved in the billing process, it's freed up time for them so that they can be more involved in providing the customer service that their clients need and that we want to provide to our clients as a company. And then it's also expanded their ability to take on additional clientele as account managers and continue to service them to the level that we expect. And so a couple of benefits that we've received is with the portal that the TPA Stream system provides. Not only can our clients log in and access historical information about open invoices, paid invoices, or just copies of invoices that they may need, our account managers can also go in and access that information. They can go in and issue, if a client calls them and says, hey, I didn't get this invoice, they can go in and just issue that invoice. It's simple enough for them to access that. They don't have to know all the background of how the invoices was set up and the template that we created for that invoice. They can just go in, find the invoice, and send it to the client, and their needs are met. And so it's been a streamlined process for our account managers as well. They don't have to contact our accounting group and say, hey, get me a copy of an invoice so I can send it to the client. It goes right to them. They can send it. And in that conversation, they can tell the client, oh, there's also a portal you can go to where you can get this anytime that you want, and which is a significant value add to our clients on the payable side, from their perspective. So.
Yeah, no, that's great. So kind of the last question I want to ask is just around our invoicing product. And, we've talked a lot about, we talked about payments, we talked about invoice creation, we talked about all the integrations, we talked about the benefit to the team. Curious if there's something we haven't talked about. Was there any surprise benefits or other capabilities that you weren't aware of that you guys are able to leverage today?
So a couple of surprises for us. One was the call volume at post invoice generation and distribution. Our call volume has dropped dramatically. Because of the process that we're using, we're able to get more accurate invoices delivered more quickly to our clients, which has reduced the cleanup, if you will, on the back end of invoice generation. It's also reduced the time that we take in collections because we assume it's because of the portal and because the information is accessible to our clients. They can go in and see if they've missed a payment on an invoice. They don't have to wait for us to send a statement. They don't have to wait for us to reach out to them and contact them. They have the information there. And so it has really, all of that time that we talked about, that 10 to 20 hours on the back end, on the collection side and cleanup, that has been dramatically reduced for our team. And so we're very, very happy about that. It's a much more efficient, effective process and a much more accurate process. And what this isn't a surprise, but something that we anticipated, it's significantly more scalable than our previous process was. It's something that we feel like is going to work with us as we continue to grow for many, many, many years into the future.
Awesome. It's great to hear. It's fantastic, Brad. I think this has been a great conversation so far. I do want to touch on a couple things that we might have told you a little bit about in the past that we're working on now to try to automate more. I mean, I love, this has been an awesome conversation. It's great to learn about your success implementing the technology and how it's helped your team and how it's helped your clients. And we want to do more of that. And so some additional things we're working on: enhanced dashboards, just to have more visibility You can never have enough dashboards. So that's an area that we're continuing to spend development time, along with automating adjustments. So we will be releasing this feature in the coming weeks here, helping customers automate when there's been an error identified in a current invoice that was sent out to an employer. Maybe an employer called you and said, "Hey, Jacob shouldn't be. We shouldn't be charged for Jacob this month. He should really just be on the invoice next month." And in that situation, we've heard that many of our customers will go in, they'll issue debits, credits as needed, and they'll reissue the invoice. And then they'll also have to go into systems like Allegis and Wax Health to update information like enrollment information. With this new automated adjustments feature, we're so excited because we're going to help you implement a new process where instead of making a change to that invoice, change your administrative system, and then through an integration, we'll automatically collect any adjustments and show those on the invoice in a very similar way to how we show any outstanding balance. And so it's just another way that we're looking to try to just automate as much as we can to help you guys focus on taking care of your clients, administering plans, and automating as much of the additional work around invoicing, around billing, around payments as much as we possibly can for you. So just some things we're working on. We are so happy to be partnered with Rocky Mountain Reserve. It's been a pleasure getting to know you, learning a little bit about how you've been able to leverage our employer invoicing product up to this point. We're just really excited to help you grow, to support you, and see what you guys do with it in the future. So thank you so much for your time today.
Great. Thank you. I appreciate the conversation, and we appreciate the relationship that we have with TPA Stream. It's been a significant value add for us, and we appreciate the ongoing support and the future opportunities that are going to be coming down the road.